Immingham is a multi-model port with good rail connectivity. We have the capability to accommodate more than 300 rail freight movements a week. If you look to your right, you can see the Eastern Jetty, and this originally started life as a cruise terminal for exotic cruises out to the Mediterranean. And on the left hand side we can see inter-terminals and all their storage tanks for all their chemicals they import. We are now approaching the Immingham Marine Control Centre, which controls all the shipping movements within the limits of the Immingham Port Harbour. The Control Centre works alongside the VTS, which is the Vessel Traffic Services, and we recently built another in Grimsby at a cost of £5.2 million. Most of this money was spent on the actual communications and radar and satellite within the centre. Both marine control towers process state-of-the-art facilities, along with impressive views of the port estate. The enclosed dock generates 35 shipping movements per day, which coincides with some of the 52 vessel movements on the river, making full use of the deep water channel. The lock gates were recently installed with assistance from North East Lincolnshire Council and the Environment Agency. Together with a grant from the EA, the gates cost a total of £5 million and were installed to prevent flooding of the port and the long-reaching town. The lock pit itself is 215 metres long and 27 metres wide, and is capable of retaining water to a depth of just over 11 metres. Immingham enclosed dock can accommodate a vessel carrying up to 35,000 tonnes of cargo, which may seem a lot to you, but will soon visit a terminal that can take 130,000 tonnes of cargo, which these are in fact very big ships. The lock entrance does, however, constrain the size of vessels that fit into the dock. In fact, our partners at DFDS have had some of their ships specifically built just so they can fit neatly into our lock gate here. Back onto the main section of the port, I'd just like to point out the Immingham Oil Terminal, which will soon be coming up on our left hand side. It's a large deep water jetty out in the river. It will come into view shortly. As you look to your left now, you can see the Immingham Oil Terminal, or the IOT as we know it, and this serves the two local oil refineries, Lindsay Oil Refinery and Phillips 66, which many of you will remember as Conoco. They between them produce 25% of the UK's petroleum. The terminal extends a mile into the river and consists of 3 main berths and 4 finger piers. The depth of water alongside the terminal is 14 metres, a little hard to believe when you can see the mudflats alongside us now. IOT is open 24 days 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and since it opened in 1969 there has not been a single day when there hasn't been a vessel berthed at the terminal, the only terminal in the port where that is the case. The terminal receives around 1,500 vessels each year and can accommodate vessels of up to 290,000 deadweight, carrying up to 135 tonnes of cargo. On your left you'll be able to glance some stockpiles of pumice and road salt, and hopefully we won't need the road salt for another few months yet. And for all you royal buffs, we are now coming up to Gresley Way, as I'm sure you'll know who Gresley was. To enter Immingham Port Park. Immingham Port Park is the UK's largest agri-bulk terminal, handling over 1 million tonnes of cargo per year. Originally it was built to accommodate the fertilizer trade. The bulk park has in recent years been utilised to handle and store other types of products such as biomass, sugar, salt and animal feed, and most recently pumice, as we saw on our way in. Immingham's bulk park covers 20 warehouses on the port, which adds up to 1.5 million square foot of space. The terminal offers bagging services, and the bagging plant we will shortly see on our right is capable of bagging 3,000 tonnes of fertilizer a day, the only place in the UK where that's achievable. Also you'll be able to see much of the plant that is used here, the shovels and the front loading diggers. It's just like being at Diggerland, isn't it? So If you glance to your right as we go past this opening in the shed, you will be able to see the bagging plant and all the bags they produce. Now as we go round this tour, you may think all these bags of fertiliser look the same, but I can assure you they all contain different products, and they all know, staff that work here, what is in each bag. Most recently, IBP purchased a new blending facility on behalf of their customer, Thomas Bell, whom some of you may have visited in Brigg. This facility enables the terminal to create tailor-made blends of fertiliser for all the local farmers. The fertiliser handled here at the terminal is sold on to local agricultural businesses and local farms within the county. In 2016, the bulk park's volume increased by 50%. And as we leave Immingham Port Tour, shortly you'll be able to stretch your legs so you can get off and have a look at the in-dock operations from the quayside. When we exit the vehicle, I kindly request that you hold on to the youngsters to prevent them getting too near the barriers. And as with every ABP site, these are all non-smoking facilities. On your right hand side you will see semi-minerals. This is a shed operated by Solent Stevedores. The shed contains cement which is brought via ship from Scotland down to Immingham, thus taking lots of road transport away from the already busy motorways. And to our left now you will see PB Kent Fertilizer Terminal. Unlike the bulk park we have just seen, this terminal handles horticultural products for the retail market. So they sell to the likes of B&Q and garden centres, which then sell the fertiliser onto yourselves for your own gardens. This terminal comprises of a storage warehouse with a blending and bagging facility. And now we will make our way to the quayside so you can all get off and stretch your legs. Yes, and to your right is Phillips 66 Petcoke silo. Phillips 66 have a refinery located down the road from the western entrance to the port. During the refining process, the refinery produces a byproduct which is known as petroleum coke, which is stored in the silo you can see to your right. The product is stored in the silo and is loaded via an outloading system onto various ships going to Europe. The finished product, which used to be treated simply as waste, is now turned into highly refined carbon, which is used to make, among other things, tennis rackets and batteries. In fact, Apple used the Petcoke that is produced in Immingham in the battery of every iPhone in the world. So there may be some on board this coach today. We are now going to enter Immingham Fertilizer Terminal, which is an ABP facility for our main fertilizer customer, Yarra UK Limited. Many years ago, this terminal was used to produce over 600,000 tonnes of fertilizer per year, and it originally started life as Fison's Fertilizers. Also, if you look over to your right now, you will see many of the thousands of cars that DFDS bring in. So spot your newest car here, and then you can go and buy one.
There's a small series, look. They ain't got a brown. They say to be quite popular. I've seen quite a few.
Well, like that one with the green on.
I do. I want to say that's like the cannons. Okay, sorry. There's a yellow one there.
This terminal also handles ammonium nitrate, which is a highly dangerous type of fertilizer. Due to the sensitivity of handling this type of fertilizer, the Immingham Fertilizer Terminal is what is known as a low-tier coma site. This means that the site is restricted and can only store a maximum of 5,000 tonnes of ammonium nitrate at any one time, and this has to be kept under very controlled conditions.
Is it? Yeah, well, we have to do this.
Not very safe, I see.
Is it just for a lap?
Yeah.
Why have you got your safety house so you have to play chicken?
As we enter this shed here, if you look over to your right, you will be able to see a bagging process in operation at the moment. The men are receiving the bulk product and putting it into bags via a machine. which will then be stacked via a fork truck. So we should be able to glimpse them now to our left, to our right, sorry.
What's that? Bunker cars. I get what you mean there. Look, that's where it switches. At this next one, you've got that yellow bit, and then you've got that one walking the other way. It's not very safe.
Fertilizer terminal, you will again have noticed the security we had to go through. Not only does the dock itself have security at either entrance, each of the terminals within the estate has to have its own security as well. This is all part of the International Ships and Port Security Regulations. As we head down the road now, you'll be able to see on either side of you DFDS. But on the right hand side is the DFDS Nordic Terminal. This was built in 1993 at a cost of £13 million and covers over 50 acres of the port estate land. The Nordic Terminal consists of 4 roll-on, roll-off berths accommodating more than 30 sailings each week to and from Northern Europe and Scandinavia. DFDS also operate the Immingham Outer Harbour, a deep water jetty located in the river, which was constructed in 2004 to accommodate larger ro-ro liner vessels that can't fit through the lock into the inner dock area. Collectively, the DFDS Seaways facilities handle around 6.5 million units each year, and Immingham is this global shipping giant's biggest port. On the left is CPL, Coal Products Limited. They are the UK's largest wholesale distributor of domestic solid fuel, handling more than 200 tonnes of high quality fuels each year, including all your barbecue briquettes.
Over there.
Did you want me?
Do you know how many you've tipped over in total? 4.
Where were the others? Where were the others?
On your left are more sheds that belong to the Immingham Port Tour facility. These are so that ships can operate at either end of the port, the western end or the eastern end. We are just about to enter the world's largest dedicated biomass handling facility, known as Immingham Renewable Fuels Terminal. You can just see the silos ahead of us at the moment. This was a £135 million project as part of a long-term agreement between ABP and Drax Power to supply 6 million tonnes of biomass per year to Drax's power station in Selby, Yorkshire. The scheme originated from the transformation of the Drax power station to one of Europe's largest generators of renewable energy. As a result, Drax have converted 50% of their power generation to low carbon electricity by using biomass as their main source of fuel. In July 2015, the world's largest single shipment of biomass, 60,000 tonnes, was discharged through this facility. Each of the silos you can see on your right can store up to 25,000 tonnes of biomass at any one time. So in total, this facility can store up to 200,000 tonnes of biomass. The state-of-the-art silo system includes fire suppression, heat monitoring and dust extraction system. Biomass is a highly combustible product but is prone to fires, so we have to be careful how it is stored.
I'll send Jack some pictures.
To our left coming up is the rail loadout facility, where trains are loaded with either coal or biomass destined for the power stations. The rail loadout facility has automated computer system with laser sensors which allows trains to be loaded whilst the train is still moving through the facility at a speed of 0.5 miles an hour. One biomass train can light 85 homes a year, and on average we handle 54 trains a week. So try and work that one out for yourselves. The Humber International Terminal, known as HIT, was opened in June 2000. HIT offers a 300-metre berth capable of handling vessels carrying up to 130,000 tonnes of coal, which we can now see on our right hand side. Most of the coal on this site comes from the USA and Russia. The stockyard contains 40 hectares of space and is capable of holding 9 million tonnes. The diversification continues with HIT. Not only does it handle coal, it will also handle animal feed, road salt and grain.
That's that rubber matting. Maybe rocked up. Need to be stopping it, so now we can stop it.
Oh, that's all right. Oh, that's
The animal souls also like the coal heaps because it's very warm coal naturally, and we regularly get foxes sitting on the top of them and birds nesting and laying their eggs as well. And it's very difficult to tell a coal customer they can't have their coal because it's got nesting birds on it. The average size of a vessel that berths on HIT 1 is the size of 2 football pitches long, about 300 metres. And the cranes we can see coming up in front of us can discharge an impressive 35 tonnes per grab, which is almost the same weight as about 10 hippos. The cranes discharge the coal into a hopper, which then goes into the conveyor system we can see going over the road and into the stockyards. The next berth we can see in front of us, which unfortunately does not have a ship on it at the moment, is for the biomass product. And biomass is discharged via a system called continuous ship unloaders, which use a corkscrew method to lift the cargo out of the vessel hold, which they will drop onto the conveyor, which then is distributed into the silos we have just seen.
I would have said, see if you can see shorts.
Specialist rail wagons are used for the transportation of biomass, and each train can hold up to 1,600 tonnes. We have about 54 a week and 50 coal trains a week, so in all HIT will have about over 100 train movements a week.
What cars are gone? No, not anymore. You got a new one. You just need to look out for the and that's how you know it doesn't work. That old box off. Then again, you can keep it that way.
You can now see the conveyor going up to the silos, so the product is dropped into the silo from the top and it leaves the silo via the bottom to go onto the train. To enter the Immingham Container Terminal, or ICT as we know it. And if you look to your left shortly, you will see all the piles of containers that you get stuck behind on the motorway. Containers come in three sizes: 10-foot containers, 20-foot containers and 40-foot containers. And as mentioned earlier, these can contain absolutely anything. under the bus as they would with any lorry with a mirror, just to make sure nothing comes onto the site or leaves the site that shouldn't. ICT is a dedicated in-dock container terminal. It's a regional centre for deep-sea container imports, handling around 185,000 containers each year. This facility operates on a 24/7 basis and boasts 3 ship-to-shore cranes, 4 rubber-tired gantry cranes and 5 reach stackers. The ship-to-shore gantry cranes that you can see ahead of you, and we're soon going to drive underneath one, are 30 metres high to their cabs. That's the same height as 6 adult giraffes. I wouldn't want to be the giraffe at the bottom though. The cranes can also grab a huge 45 tonnes. This is the same weight as 7 African elephants. The terminal is extremely busy and on average sees around 2,500 lorry movements each week. Inside the containers you will find just about the full range of things that you can buy, from food to cars, clothes and computer parts. From here the containers are taken by lorry all over the UK, but mostly to places around the Midlands and north of England. We also receive containers to put back onto the ships to export from the UK. The container terminal is doing amazing business at the moment, and across the Humber we saw our container terminals grow by 23% last year. On your right hand side you'll be able to glimpse over the other side Ward Recycling. This is for recycled scrap metal. They collect it here at this depot and then they put it onto ships that go all over Europe and to Turkey. the scrap metal again that we mentioned over the other side. You can see the piles of it. This is collected from all the scrap yards and the local tips, and as I say, it's then grabbed and placed on ships that go for export. If you look to your left, you can actually see a dredger working on the dock itself. This keeps the bottom of the dock clean, and so that it maintains its water level. It goes along and scrapes up any debris that's falling in. And also on the right hand side you can see steel being prepared for export. We handle cargo for British Steel, formerly known as Tata. This is brought onto the quay via trains from the Scunthorpe factory. The steel is then discharged from the train and placed here on Mineral Quay, where it is stored safely until a ship arrives to export it. At the moment, the majority of steel we handle for British Steel goes to North Africa, countries such as Algeria and Egypt. ABP also plans to become the biggest corporate solar power producer in the UK. Here 6 sheds already have been fitted with panels, and it will see a total of 4.5 megawatts generated to supply electricity for the port. Any excess energy generated will be fed back to serve the national grid. We also have a green team that is made up of staff volunteering their time. They aim to create green spaces for staff to enjoy and to encourage a variety of wildlife by improving and creating habitats for them to thrive. Our office staff also make a difference as they are encouraged to recycle as much as possible, to reduce the use of energy, and they take part in liquor picking sessions around the port estate during their lunch break. This concludes your port tour of the Port of Immingham. I hope you have found the tour interesting, enjoyable and informative. And please remember that when we get back to the Civic Centre, to visit the museum above the city's Civic Centre, which is very interesting, and you will find more docks, memorabilia and documentation. Wishing you a very safe journey, and thank you very much for coming to visit us today.